Hello, we are reading Fablehaven Chapter 5, Journal of Secrets. Did you ever notice the keyhole on the belly of the unicorn? Seth asked. He was lying on the floor beside the fanciful rocking horse, hands laced behind his head. Kendra looked up from her painting. She had asked Lena to create a paint by numbers to help her endure her incarceration. Kendra had wanted to paint the pavilions around the pond, and Lena had quickly sketched a scene with startling accuracy, as if the housekeeper had the place memorized. Seth declined to have another canvas prepped. Stuck in the attic or not, he was sick of painting. Keyhole? Weren't you looking for keyholes? Kendra got off her stool and crouched beside her brother. Sure enough, there was a tiny keyhole in the underside of the unicorn. She retrieved her keys from the nightstand drawer. The third key Grandpa Sorensen had given her did the trick. A small hatch swung open. Out fell several rose-shaped chocolates wrapped in gold foil, identical to the one she had found in the miniature armoire. "What are those?" Seth asked. "Soap," Kendra said. Kendra reached up into the hatch and felt around inside the hollow rocking horse. She found a few more rosebud chocolates and a tiny golden key, like the one from the armoire. The second key to the locked journal. "They look like candy," Seth said, snatching one of the 10 chocolates. "Have one, they're perfumed. You'll smell pretty." He unwrapped it. Funny color for soap. Smells a lot like chocolate. He popped the whole thing in his mouth. His eyebrows shot up. "Holy cow, this is good!" "Since you found the keyhole, how about we split them 50-50? She was a little worried he would eat them all, otherwise. "Sounds fair," he said, grabbing 4 more. Kendra placed her 5 chocolates on the nightstand drawer and retrieved the locked book. As she expected, the second gold key unlocked another clasp. Where could the third one be? She slapped her forehead. The first 2 had been hidden inside things the other keys opened. The other one must be in the jewelry box. Opening the jewelry box, she rummaged through the compartments of glittering pendants, brooches, and rings. Sure enough, disguised in a charm bracelet, she found a tiny golden key matching the other 2. Kendra eagerly crossed the room and inserted the key into the final lock on the Journal of Secrets. The final clasp unlatched, and she opened the book. The first page was blank, so was the second. She thumbed quickly through the pages. The whole book was blank, just an empty journal. Was Grandpa Sorensen trying to encourage her to keep a diary? But the whole game with the keys had been so sneaky. Maybe there was a trick to this as well. A hidden message. Disappearing ink or something. What was the trick with disappearing ink? Spray it with lemon juice and hold it up to the light? Something like that. And there was another trick where you rubbed gently with a pencil and a message appeared. Or maybe something even more devious. Kendra surveyed the journal more carefully, hunting for clues. She held a few pages up against the window to see if the light would betray hidden watermarks or other mysterious evidence. "What are you doing?" Seth asked. He had only 1 chocolate rosebud left. She would need to hide her chocolate someplace more secure than the nightstand drawer. She held up a final page. The light revealed nothing. "Practicing for my audition at the insane asylum. I bet you'll win first prize," he teased. "Unless they see your face," she retorted. Seth went over and scooped some kernels for Goldilocks. She laid another egg. He opened the cage to retrieve it and stroked her soft feathers. Kendra plopped down on the bed, leafing through the pages. Suddenly she stopped. There was writing on one of the final pages, not really hidden, just tucked away in an unlikely spot. 3 words written near the binding, toward the bottom of an otherwise empty page. "Drink the milk." Folding the corners, she flipped through the remaining pages. Then she skipped the rest of the pages from the start to make sure she had missed no similar messages. There were no other cryptic clues. Drink the milk. Maybe soaking a page in milk would make words appear. She could soak one with the tins of milk Dale left out. Or that could be the milk the message was talking about. A challenge to drink unprocessed cow's milk. What purpose could that serve? To give her diarrhea? Dale had made a special point of warning her not to drink the milk. Of course, he had acted sort of peculiar about it. He could be hiding something. Drink the milk. All the hassle of finding holes for the keys Grandpa Sorensen gave her in order to uncover extra keys that fit a locking journal for that odd message? Was she missing something or overanalyzing? The hunt might have simply been meant to occupy her time. "Do you think Mom and Dad would let us get a pet chicken?" Seth asked, holding the hen. "Probably right after they get us a pet buffalo." "Why don't you ever hold Goldilocks? She's really good." "Holding a live chicken sounds disgusting." "Better than holding a dead one." "I'm fine just petting her." "You're missing out." Seth held the hen up to his face. "You're a good chicken, aren't you, Goldilocks?" The hen clucked softly. "She's going to peck your eyes out," Kendra warned. "No way, she's tame." Popping one of the rosebud chocolates in her mouth, Kendra replaced the Journal of Secrets on the nightstand drawer and returned to her painting. She scowled. Between the gazebos, ponds, and swans, the picture required more than 30 shades of white, gray, and silver. Using the sample hues Lena had given her, she prepared her next color. The sun was bright the next day. There was no evidence that it had ever rained or that it would ever rain again. Hummingbirds, butterflies, and bumblebees had returned to the yard. Lena gardened in the back beneath a large sun hat. Kendra sat in the shade on the back porch. No longer a prisoner in the attic, she felt better able to enjoy the fine weather. She nodded. She nodded if the diverse butterflies she saw in the yard were among the species Grandpa Sorensen had imported. She wondered if the diverse butterflies she saw in the yard were among the species Grandpa Sorensen had imported. How did you keep a butterfly from leaving your property? The milk, perhaps? She passed the time with a game she had found on the shelf in the attic, a triangular board with 15 holes and 14 pegs. The object was to jump pegs like checkers until you only had one left, which sounded simple at first. The problem was that in the process of jumping, certain pegs ended up stranded, unable to jump or be jumped. The number of pegs you left stranded on the board determined your score. Her best effort so far was 3. With the directions... I don't know what's wrong with me today. Which the directions labeled typical, leaving two was good. 1 was genius. 5 or more labeled you hopeless. While resettling the pegs for a fresh attempt, Kendra saw what she had been waiting for. Dale was walking along the perimeter of the yard with a pie tin. Setting the peg game on a table, she hurried to intercept him. Dale looked mildly distressed at her approach. "I can't let Lena see you talking to me like this," he murmured in low tones. "I'm supposed to put the milk out on the sly." "I thought nobody knew you put the milk out." "Right. See, your grandfather doesn't know, but Lena does. We try to keep it our secret. I was wondering what the milk tastes like." He looked nervous. "Didn't you hear me last time? You could get shingles, scabies, scurvy." "Scurvy? This milk is a bacterial stew. That's why the insects like it so well." "I have friends who've tried milk fresh from the cow. They survived." "I'm sure those were healthy cows," Dale said. "These cows are—" "Never you mind. Idea is, this ain't just any milk. It's highly contaminated. I wash my hands good after even handling this stuff. So you don't think I should taste it? Not unless you're aiming for a premature burial." "Would you at least take me in the barn to see the cows?" "See the cows? That would be breaking your grandfather's rules." "I thought the point was that we might get hurt," Kendra said. "I'll be fine if you're with me. Your grandfather's rules are your grandfather's rules. He has his reasons. I'm not about to go breaking them, or bending them either." "No? Maybe if you let me see the cows, I'll keep your secret about putting out the milk." "Now see, that's blackmail. I'll not stand for blackmail." "I wonder what Grandpa'll say when I tell him at dinner tonight." "He'll likely say you ought to mind your own affairs. Now, with your leave, I have chores to do." She watched him walk away with the tin of milk. He surely had acted defensive and strange. There was definitely some mystery surrounding the milk, but all the talk about bacteria made her reluctant to try it. She needed a guinea pig. Seth tried to flip off the boulder into the pool, but landed on his back. He never could quite make it all the way around. He surfaced and stroked to the side to try again. "Nice backflip," Kendra said, standing beside the pool. "That was one for the blooper reel." Seth climbed out of the water. "I'd like to see you do a better one. Where have you been?" "I found out a secret." "What?" "I can't explain, but I can show you." "Good as the lake?" "Not quite. Hurry up." Putting a towel over his shoulders, Seth stepped into his sandals. Kendra led him away from the pool, through the garden, to some flowering shrubs on the outskirts of the yard. Behind the plants lay a large pie tin full of milk, where a crowd of hummingbirds were feeding. "They drink milk?" he asked. "Yeah, but that isn't the point. Taste it." "Why?" "You'll see." "Have you tried it?" "Yes." "What's the big deal?" "I told you try it and you'll see." Kendra watched curiously as he kneeled by the tin. The hummingbirds dispersed. Seth dipped a finger into the milk and put it on his tongue. "Pretty good. Sweet." "Sweet?" He lowered his head and puckered his lips against the surface of the milk. Pulling back, he wiped his mouth. "Yeah, sweet and creamy. A little warm, though." Looking beyond Kendra, his eyes bulged. Seth jumped to his feet, screaming and pointing. "What the heck are those?" Kendra turned. All she saw was a butterfly and a couple of hummingbirds. She looked back at Seth. He was turning in circles, eyes darting around the ground, apparently perplexed and amazed. "They're everywhere," he said in awe. "What are?" "Look around. The fairies." Kendra stared at her brother. Could the milk have totally fried his brain, or was he messing around with her? He didn't appear to be faking. He was over by a rose bush, gazing at a butterfly in wonder. Tentatively, he reached a hand toward it, but it fluttered out of reach. He turned back to Kendra. Was it the milk? This is way cooler than the lake. His excitement seemed genuine. Kendra eyed the tin of milk. Drink the milk. If Seth was playing a prank, his acting skills had suddenly improved tenfold. She dipped a finger and put it in her mouth. Seth was right. It was sweet and warm. For an instant the sun gleamed in her eyes, making her blink. She glanced back at her brother, who was creeping up on a small group of hovering fairies. 3 had wings like butterflies, 1 like a dragonfly. She could not suppress a shriek at the impossible sight. Kendra looked back at the milk. A fairy with hummingbird wings was drinking from her cupped hand. Other than the wings, the fairy looked like a slender woman not quite 2 inches tall. She wore a glittering turquoise slip and had long dark hair. When Kendra leaned closer, the fairy zipped away. There was no way she was really seeing this, right? There had to be an explanation. But the fairies were everywhere, near and far, shimmering in vivid colors. How could she deny what was right before her eyes? As Kendra continued to survey the garden, startled disbelief melted into wonder. Fairies of all conceivable varieties flitted about, exploring blossoms, gliding on the breeze, and acrobatically avoiding her brother. Roaming the pathways of the garden in a daze, Kendra saw that the fairy women appeared to represent all nationalities. Some looked Asian, some Indian, some African, some European. Several were less comparable to mortal women, with blue skin or emerald green hair. A few had antennae. Their wings came in all varieties, mostly patterned after butterflies, but much more elegantly shaped and radiantly colored. All the fairies gleamed brilliantly, outshining the flowers of the garden like the sun outshines the moon. Rounding a corner on a pathway, Kendra stopped short. There stood Grandpa Sorensen, wearing a flannel shirt and work boots, arms folded across his chest. "We need to talk," he said. The grandfather clock told the hour, chiming 3 times after the introductory melody. Sitting on a high-backed leather armchair in Grandpa Sorensen's study, Kendra wondered if grandfather clocks got their name because only grandparents owned them. She looked over at Seth, seated in an identical chair. It looked too big for him. These were chairs for adults. Why had Grandpa Sorensen left the room? Were they in trouble? After all, he had given her the keys that ended up leading her and the guinea pig to sample the milk. Even so, she could not quite quit worrying that she had discovered something that was meant to stay hidden. Not only were fairies real, but Grandpa Sorensen had hundreds in his yard. "Is that a fairy skull?" Seth asked, pointing to the flat-bottomed globe with a thumb-sized skull on Grandpa's desk. "Probably," Kendra said. "Are we busted?" "We better not be. There were no rules against drinking milk." The study door slid open. Grandpa entered along with Lena, who carried 3 mugs on a tray. Lena offered Kendra a mug, then Seth and Grandpa. The mug contained hot chocolate. Lena left the room as Grandpa took his seat behind his desk. "I am impressed how quickly you solved my puzzle," he said, taking a sip from his mug. "You wanted us to drink the milk?" Kendra said. "Assuming you were the right kind of people. Frankly, I don't know you that well. I hoped that the kind of person who would take the trouble to solve my little puzzle would be the kind of person who could handle the notion of a preserve full of magical creatures. Fablehaven would be too much to swallow for most people." "Fablehaven?" Seth repeated. The name the founders gave this preserve centuries ago. A refuge for mystical creatures, a stewardship passed down from caretaker to caretaker over the years. Kendra tried the hot chocolate. It was superb. The flavor made her think of the rosebud chocolates. "What do you have besides fairies?" Seth asked. "Many beings, great and small, which is the true reason the woods are off limits. There are creatures out there much more perilous than venomous snakes or wild apes. Only certain orders of magical life forms are generally permitted in the yard, fairies, pixies, and such." Grandpa took another sip from his mug. "You like the hot chocolate?" "It's wonderful," Kendra said. "Made from the same milk you sampled in the garden today. Same milk the fairies drink. Just about the only food they'll eat. When mortals drink it, their eyes are open to an unseen world, but the effects wear off after a day. Lena will prepare you a cup every morning so you can stop stealing from the fairies." "Where does it come from?" Kendra asked. "We make it special in the barn. We have some dangerous creatures in there, too, so that's still off limits." "Why is everything off limits?" Seth complained. "I've been a long way into the woods 4 times, and I've always been fine." "4 times?" Grandpa said. "All before the warning," Seth amended hastily. Yes, well, your eyes were not yet open to what truly surrounded you, and you were fortunate. Even when you were blind to the enchanted creatures populating the forest, there were many places you could have ventured into from which you would not have returned. Of course, now that you can see them, the creatures here can interact with you much more readily, so the danger is much greater. No offense, Grandpa, but is all this really the truth? Kendra asked. You've told us so many versions of why the woods are forbidden. You saw the fairies, he said. Kendra leaned forward. Maybe the milk made us hallucinate. Maybe they were holograms. Maybe you just keep telling us whatever you think we'll believe. I understand your concern, Grandpa said. I wanted to protect you from the truth about Fablehaven, unless you sought it out for yourselves. It is not the kind of information I wanted to thrust upon you. That is the truth. What I'm telling you now is the truth. You'll have ample opportunity to confirm my words. So the animals we saw at the pond were actually other creatures, like how the butterflies were fairies? Kendra clarified. Most assuredly. The pond can be a hazardous place. Return there now and you would find friendly naiads beckoning you near the water in order to pull you under and drown you. That's so cruel, Kendra said. Depends on your perspective, Grandpa said, spreading his hands. To them, your life is so ridiculously short that to kill you is seen as absurd and funny. No more tragic than squashing a moth. Besides, they have a right to punish trespassers. The island at the center of the pond is a shrine to the fairy queen. No mortal is permitted to tread there. I know of a groundskeeper who broke that rule. The moment he set foot on the sacred island, he transformed into a cloud of dandelion fluff, clothes and all. He scattered on the breeze and was never seen again. Why would he go there? Kendra asked. The fairy queen is widely considered the most powerful figure in all fairydom. The groundskeeper had desperate need and went to plead for her assistance. Apparently she was not impressed. In other words, he had no respect for what was off limits, Kendra said, giving Seth a meaningful look. Precisely.